Hi there! Welcome to yet another episode of Ask AION. This time being a little different though, as it's our first live Ask AION. What is a live Ask AION, you may ask? Well, let me explain. If you have been following us around, you know that this year we had a really big community event in Cologne. We already posted a video documentary about the event on our YouTube channel, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't done so already. Anyway, at this event we held a live Ask AION episode where the attending players could ask questions directly to NCSoft as well as Gameforge. This was a tremendous experience for us all and actually a lot of fun. There was a really wide range of questions and there was no chance to hide either for us or NCSoft. As doing this live is so much different than virtual, also for the people asking the questions, I want to take the time to thank all the players who were brave enough to stand up and do so. I hope you'll all enjoy this special episode. Here we go! All right, so the basic idea is that we here on the stage, I need Alex because he knows way more about the game than I do, and NCSoft, and we will have one microphone on the top floor, one microphone on the ground floor, and whoever wants to ask a question, just wave your hand and then somebody will run over to you giving you the microphone. Like down here it will be Nicola, right? All right. I need two on the stage because it looks much better with two microphones. No, you're gonna get one. All right, and yeah, the idea is that Renee here is filming everything, so we will be able to use this as an Ask AION episode later on YouTube. And I will rest because I will, yeah, it's nice because recording one episode of Ask AION actually is quite an effort. Because first all the questions are collected, then I have to select the ones that I think I mentioned at some point, usually I go through the questions and for whatever questions I feel a grumble in my stomach answering, then that's the question that I'm going to take, because those are the questions that are probably the most interesting. So if we can do this right here, right now, that's great, because this will save us some time for one episode, which is great. And it's also a nice thing, I think, as we are here together with NCSoft. All right, so of course, first question is the one that is most, that costs most, how do you say, braveness? To ask. So who goes first? Here we have one, down here.
Hello. I have a question to the NCSoft staff. Is there any work done to get a new class, since the Virtue class just got one side, the Bard?
I never would have guessed that question. That comes out of the nowhere.
So actually our dev team also consider about the new classes actually, but we haven't decided any details yet, since we think that it takes a lot of resources for the new class, and what we have more higher priority at the moment is make current contents more fully various. So we want to focus on the current contents firstly. Okay?
Yeah. All right, thanks for the question. Oh, yeah, another addition?
I want to add that we are keep considering it, so we are not stop thinking about this new class. So
that's good. That's a relief. All right, any more questions? Up there we have one, and no down there, so we start up here first.
Okay, so currently we have more character classes than we have character slots on the account. Are there any plans to sell these more character slots so that we can have all the classes on our accounts?
You mean more than 8 for the full pack accounts? Okay, I like the question because you said sell these, so you're thinking it's good. I like your thinking. But I think that's also a question into your direction, if it's technically possible.
Yeah, so about expanding the character slots, right? Systematically, we prepared to expand more than 8 at the moment, but we haven't decided the details. Am I repeating this? Sorry. So systematically we've already prepared, but for the details we need to discuss more with the every publisher and also in Korea as well. So yeah. So please wait.
It might be happening in the future.
Yes.
And that's,
yes.
okay.
It will be. There's for this we changed the UI to make it more. So we are starting the changes.
Okay, that's good. Good question. All right. Next, we have two questions down here. Oh, sorry. Oh, right here, actually. All right, then choose one.
Are there any new titles coming up for PvE, like the Indestructible? Just like Fastest Grendel Kill or something like that?
We're working on these PvP seasons and PvE seasons, so they will be designed similarly to the PvP event that we had in April, but for PvP and PvE, and there will be titles for the winners again. So there will be something like that. Don't have the exact details yet on what it will be, but there will be something for PvE as well.
We talked about this in the live stream, and I'm not sure did I put this in the letter from the PD, but we did that PvP event, and the feedback was very good. But of course, there were lots of feedback like, "Hey, do something for PvE as well. We are just no PvP players," and that is why we have thought about how to do that and came up with a system which will be PvP and PvPE seasons. So things like that will happen regularly. Basically the way they were for PvP, but just again seasonal, and that time also for PvE, and then there will be titles included. Next question.
Short in German. Nick, ich hatte dir ja die Frage eigentlich schon gestellt, das mit der Geschichte. Jetzt will ich das gerne an NCSoft richten, und zwar I love to play Ion very much, and then one day I got the idea to write a story about it. The main character I create on myself, and the name is Suki, and it's a cleric. I also asked my friends if I could use their characters for my story, and I got their consent. There's a list of the character from my friends, and the other are just invented. The story isn't finished yet in German, but I would be glad, and it would be a great honor if Gameforge and NCSoft would read it and criticize it. Please send me your opinion.
That's very nice. I like that. She took the time to write a story based on her character and her friends and all around it, and she would be very honored if we and NCSoft would read it and provide feedback. So that's very nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we will both do so gladly. So sure. All right. Thanks. Any more questions here? I think. Sorry. Chamek, you're not allowed. Okay.
So I have a question about the profession, because with the new morphing system, the professions are something like useless, because one do more with the morphing than that with the professions. Will be there something done that the profession don't become useless at all? So will be there something new implemented that the players will the profession often that now?
Yeah, so regarding that question, in 5.1, we implement, but I'm not sure it's your version as a 5.1, but it's based on Korean version.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes, so we added high deva crafting system to that update. And for that, you could have the most of the high deva things, the armors and weapons and everything can be crafted based on the system, and the current crafters could provide the materials for the high deva craft. So they could have more routes to provide their current crafting skills. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
With that.
That okay? All right.
And we want to add you more information about the high deva craft. Actually, the current crafting system has to be the capital cities to make the craft window, right? But we improved for the high deva craft. We improved to you can do it anywhere, anytime that you want to, make something, craft something. Except when you're hunting, but also the materials can be gettable from when you leveling during your leveling up. So it will be more natural to do the crafting system. Okay.
All right, thanks. Next question.
Yes, I have a question to Gameforge about the website. It doesn't have much content at the moment. And I was wondering if we're gonna see any rankings soon, like PvP rankings, more related with PvP than honor point system, which is really far away from PvP. And I was wondering about arenas ranking, battleground rankings, because I'm sure this data is stored somewhere in database or logged somewhere is there. And if we can use it for the ranking on the website to make the website looks better, to have more content.
When did we add the ranking system that we have now? A year ago or something? Probably. We are always trying to more and more add stuff like that to provide more in-game or to use the information that we have in-game to show on the website. We will. There are several plans how to add further stuff, but yeah, we just need to see in our planning when we can do that, because there is effort involved in order to do that. Right now, for example, every effort is going to fixing the daily quest system that has been offline since a few days, as you know, since Tuesday. For example, these are the same resources that are doing that are needed to build the scripts that are identifying the data that is in the logs to show that on the web page like we did with the current ranking. So more and more stuff will be added over time, come in every now and then. But I totally agree. I would love to have our website even more interactive with more interesting stuff to see as it is now. I think we already improved things compared to what has been online like 2 years ago, but we will definitely go down that road further. You want to add something?
Yeah. As you might have seen the PvP event in April, we had our own ranking for that as well. And as I already said, we'll have PvP seasons with much more activities than just open world kills. So we'll work on extra rankings for that as well. So currently, at least as far as I know, there are no rankings for all these things anywhere, like they're not saved. We have to build them ourselves. So we'll work on that with the seasons, and depending on how well it works, we'll see if we can have more permanent rankings as well. But it really depends on how well it even works, how much our other projects we have to do. But like arena rankings and things like that, I would also really love that, but we'll have to see. That should probably be coming at some point.
In general, we have put a lot of effort this year to create a system that allows us to read what's happening on the servers in a more efficient and more elaborated way that will help us to create special events like the PvP event, where we are rewarding certain behavior by players, and we will use this more and more in the future. We have lots of plans for different things that we can do. I will not, if I mention them now, everybody will expect them to be happening in the next 3 months. So I don't want to talk about that too much. But we have lots of plans how to use that information more and more, and to provide a more deeper connection between what is seen on the web page and what happens on the servers. So that is definitely going to happen. All right, more questions. Not sure who was first. Quite now.
Ich frage jetzt auf Deutsch, weil mein Englisch im Sprechen nicht so gut
klar,
ist. Verstehen tue ich schon, aber es geht um einen speziellen Punkt, um die Abyss-Raids im oberen Abyss. Und zwar ist ja allgemein bekannt, dass dort oben Panzer spawnen können zum Dev. Diese jedoch hat niemand eine Ahnung, wie die erscheinen, und als ich den Support angeschrieben hatte, sagte dieser mir, wir können ihnen leider nicht helfen, weil das unfair anderen gegenüber wäre. Ich will damit jetzt nicht sagen, dass der Support falsch geantwortet hat, nur ich war ein bisschen enttäuscht von dieser Antwort. Und jetzt würde ich gerne fragen, Gibt es diese Möglichkeit überhaupt?
Okay, well, considering that I understood the answer well, our captain just informed me that you can spawn it by buying the material. The users can spawn it by buying certain materials.
I'm just thinking about how we could provide a feedback to that, like later on after the meet and greet to you, but that will be kind of difficult. So,
Why don't we do
we
this?
can post it in the forums maybe. Are you on the forums, on the boards? Yeah.
Can we have some guide or something? Maybe?
Yeah. Then let's answer this question next week on the boards. Maybe we can collect this if another question might come up that we cannot clearly answer, but we need to look in what exactly where they are spawned and how that works out, and then we check back with them, and then we can provide the answer there. Thank you. So very good question if it can't be answered here. Who was next?
Shemek is ready.
Oh, okay, finally, but now?
I'm ready. My English not good. I Polish speak. Man translate. Ja chciałem zapytać, czy zespół AION Gameforge planuje przedsięwziąć jakiekolwiek akcje w celu zebrania informacji od graczy, jak bardzo pożądana jest funkcja transferu postaci pomiędzy serwerami. Z tego co wiem, to podczas jednej z naszych transmisji na Twitchu poinformowano graczy o tym, że nie jesteśmy w stanie tak naprawdę stwierdzić, jak bardzo tego rodzaju funkcja jest pożądana. No i tego właśnie dotyczy moje pytanie. Czy jest jakakolwiek inna forma, w jakiej możemy się wypowiedzieć jako społeczność?
Can we cut his mic? Does that work?
It was simple and easy to understand. I mean,
he
basically just asked, how do you want to collect the feedback from players about server and character transfers? That's what he asked. I'm sorry, Polish is a long language, that's all.
Feedback on the character transfers?
If players want to do server and character transfers, we don't know at the moment, how do you want to ask the players?
We're not sure if the players want to have character transfers? I'm sure they want that. I mean, who doesn't want that, basically?
Maud is telling me words in English, so I'm just trying to repeat them. And she says that it goes like this. You told us that we don't know how much server transfer is really needed because, well, it is not really representative. Yeah, how we collect data through the ticket system and on the forum. So I would like to ask a question. How can we successfully ask the community, like all of the community, if that type of a feature is really needed?
Oh, all right. Okay. You're kind of cute.
I'm sorry, my English not good.
Character transfers it's a big topic. We've been talking about that. We had the character transfers implemented with the when we did the server merges. So you all saw that UI. Well, not all of you, but those who were affected. You could see the UI where you can drag and drop your characters to new servers and then make that happen. So basically, we have a system already in place that allows doing character transfers. We already said during the live stream that character transfers is something like that we want to offer as a service, of course, as a paid service, like it's normal in MMOs. The question is just when can we make that happen? And we are just now that the update is out of the door and this meet and greet is over. Next week we'll sit together and plan the strategy and the topics for the rest of the year that we're going to do. And character transfer has a high chance of being done this year. For example, another thing that we've been discussing is a new veteran system that is much more easy to use and to handle and maintain because the current one is really just giving the creeps to everybody. That is something which most likely will not happen this year. This is something that will be postponed to the first quarter of next year probably. But the character transfers is something that is actually planned. And I personally, are you asking if we should have an additional way to provide feedback from the players so that we can increase the pressure that we feel this is really something that we need to do more with a higher priority or not? Is that kind of like the direction you're going to?
Can you transfer it to Polish, please? Oh, sorry. No, I just do believe that as a person that is in a close connection with the community itself, I'm being asked constantly and very often about this type of a feature. So I feel responsible.
It's nice
to let you know that this is something that players really would like to have, and they would really appreciate that type of a feature.
Yeah.
I cannot think about anything else that players would ask. That's
Okay.
it. That's
I
the
thought
reason.
you could not think of anything else at nighttime because that's like
No.
Too much info.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
it's just the pressure.
You know, character transfers is a service that is, of course, very important when I don't know, you're playing on a server and your friends are on the other server. You want to play together with them, so you want to switch the server. That makes total sense. I think you always, I mean, you need to look at what other things are out there that can be developed in a certain time and how many people will benefit from it. Server transfers is something that for some people is really important. But if you would, I mean, that's my expectation. If we would ask the overall crowd if there is an assistant that fixed in the daily rewards or something, then I think more people would vote for, all right, do that first and then do the character transfer. So it's always the question how many people are affected, what the positive results are for them, and then we need to focus on that. And I think now with all the things that we already did, the server transfers are ranked really high in the next things that are being done. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be happening very soon, and I have highest hopes that it's going to be this year. So, all right. You happy? All right.
Say that in Polish.
Jestem bardzo szczęśliwy.
Here, fist bump. All right, more questions. Oh wow, lots of hands. Start up there. Do we have a mic up there?
Yeah, I really love the horse mask, and you said you won't wear it because it smells badly. But what would you do if we have one which doesn't smell?
I don't know. Something positive or negative might happen. You can try to find out.
I think everybody here in this room wants you to provide something you provided earlier, and you gave us a good reason because you didn't want to wear it anymore. But I think we can provide something for you.
Okay.
You're screwed, Nick.
We should never have started this. Well, actually, the guy who usually wears the horse mask is somebody else. Cedric. Where's Cedric? I don't know. I don't want to wear it. All right. We're going to answer two questions, or two Q&As are going to happen with the horse mask on, but then I never want to hear that any time ever again, please. Can you stand in front of me? I'm embarrassed.
What? Okay.
It's not that hard.
All right. Okay, that's going to be difficult for the sound guy. Can we have another question, please? I can't see who's asking, but probably...
I would really like to have a small addition to the web shop. And this is a search function.
What? I'm not doing the shop.
Oh no! Wait! I know it. All right. I know this must look really embarrassing again. So, but I wouldn't know how to answer this question otherwise. So please, I'm sorry. We're gonna cut that out, of course, of the public Ask AION release, maybe. We promise. Okay, regarding the shop, we are currently working on releasing a completely new version of the shop. And this is something that we will release this year, and it will be looking completely new. It has a completely new design and lots of new features, and one of them will be the search function. All right. Who's that? What are you doing? What happened? All right, one more question, then I'm going to take it off because it already gets quite hot.
Hello, I have a question for NC. Why is it that you're still promoting Ilios more than Asmos?
Okay, so basically when we developed Ion from the beginning, most of the concept and the storyline was initiated from Ilios. So I think it was kind of more natural for us to put a little bit more promotion into Ilios, but I don't think it's because we put in any of personal emotion into it, but it's just basically because we started off with Ilios first.
All right, that was 2 questions, right? How do I look?
Very good.
Look how I sweat. I mean, that was really...
You look better with the horse mask.
Thank you, thank you. I'll talk to you later. How do I look? Do I look okay?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all right.
All right, more questions? Oh, thank you. I'm not sure. Who was first? I was out for 2 questions. So... All right. One up here, then you, then the other up here, then here. All right?
So,
okay.
Me first.
Ja, you can ask me.
Ich wollte nochmal auf die Website-Frage eingehen. Und zwar habe ich in einem koreanischen Video gesehen, dass es möglich war, auf die Ion-Homepage zu gehen und dort nach Spielern zu suchen und nachzugucken, was für Rüstungen sie haben, welches Level sie sind, welche Charakter sie haben und so weiter und so fort.
Ja.
Wird das auch bei EU implementiert?
The question was on the Korean website, there is a feature that allows you to search for characters and show their stuff, what they have equipped also on the web page. This is something that was also there in the past at some point. I think it was called My Ion, but that was a long time ago, what some of you might remember. And actually, this is also part of the things that we are planning or wishing, for this, I would say, wishing to add to the website. But actually, there are lots of, really, regarding this, there are lots of other things that we prioritize higher than that, actually. But I really wish to see that feature live. But that will not happen in the next half year, at least, or something. All right. Now, down here, him.
Hello. I have a technical question. I was wondering, will the game characters be given the possibility to swim in the water in the future?
Swimming.
And more question, not not technical.
That's a trick.
That's
cheating.
I really like the game music. Are you going to release a CD album containing all the game's soundtrack?
Okay, regarding the question about swimming, we have got that question for some time. And of course, we are putting in a lot of consideration whether it's possible or if it's fun enough to include it into Ion. So we are still deciding. We haven't actually decided, but we are still also contemplating whether the swimming content would be fun enough and if we would be able to give you more contents and factors that would make Ion more various. So yes, we are still thinking about it, and technically it's not impossible. But I think the reason that we are holding it is because of the content-wise. We just have to consider a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that the request for swimming is strong, basically since that Vision trailer that was released like a long time ago, where there was swimming inside. So since then, it's always in the heads of people. So. Yeah.
But if anybody has great ideas to make the swimming content fun or fascinating, then we are open. we are open. Feel free to give us any opinion and ideas.
Yeah, and you can do so by writing to us. I mean, do we have a general feedback email address that we are using? Steffi? Where's Steffi?
Yes. Also, but we also look into the forums as well. So if you have any hot topics, we also screen them and monitor them. So, just feel free to post anything.
Yeah, we're both doing that actually. We're like us from Gameforge and also in CF2, we're always looking into all the communication based on ION that is done on the forums, on Facebook and everywhere, Twitter. Just, to get a feeling of what's requested most. I mean, we know that the forum, for example, is just it's a certain cut from the community, but it's not really representative for all of the players, but at least there are the players that feel a high need to communicate, and that is why it's always interesting to look into there. All right, the other question was regarding the soundtrack, if there are any plans to release the ION music as a soundtrack. Yeah, as a CD you can purchase in stores or anything, or released in any other way. Okay, yeah, I can say that this time. She said that there is an album with the soundtrack that has been released in Korea, but not elsewhere outside. So, I mean, yeah, we can check whether there are ways how we can provide that album maybe as a digital download, but I'm not allowed if that would be possible for legal reasons or.
I think it's not available for overseas currently due to copyright issues.
Yeah, that's always a thing with the licenses and so. But yeah, I don't know. We will look into that. That will be another question for the later. Can somebody write that down? Because it's already 2 now. That's my brain capacity is like full now. Steffi, where's Steffi? Where's Steffi? Steffi, can you write that down? Those 2 questions. Well, the first one was with tanks in the upper abyss, and the other one is now with the soundtrack, whether we can release it on our own for something. Yeah, perfect. You're the woman. All right, so we will get back on that. I wish we could do so. I mean, these copyright topics are always quite of a hassle. In this case, it should not be that much of an issue because the copyrights are with NCSoft, I guess, so we can at least clarify whether it's possible or not. Like in other things, like the Wonder Girls stuff, it was nearly impossible to get in contact with the Wonder Girls costume license holder, so that's just something we always wanted to do, but we never found a way how to do so. That's always a bit of a hassle, and I hope that with the other things that you saw, like with the Power Rangers and stuff like that, I hope there will not be any real dangerous copyright issues, because I really would want to have that in our region as well, but sometimes there are just issues. Another one was there was a Scream mask and also a Scream mule, I think, that was created, designed, and released, but we couldn't release it because we didn't get the approval from the license holder here, or they were asking like, give us $10 million and then you can do that. And of course that doesn't make sense for us. So. All right, next question. I think she has been waiting for quite some time, but we'll get to all of you.
I have a question about the housing system. Are there plans for implementing new features, especially regarding the outside appearance of the house, like especially new house fronts, or the possibility of building a little fountain in your garden and something like that?
Yes, we have some plans to renewing the housing system. In Korea, it will be implemented around next year, March. So we can't quite reveal what it is, but we have plans to renewing it.
All right, next, I think you've been waiting for quite some time, she said. She just said to me that you have been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, my English is not so good, but I will try my best to get you what I'm about.
But you can also ask in German, that's fine, I can translate. Translate to her and then she will translate to Korean.
Ja, also die eine Sache ist halt, wenn wir gerade im Abi sind, ich mag Aion halt als eins meiner Lieblingsspiele, weil man hat immer ein großes Aufeinandertreffen mit der gegnerischen Fraktion und den Balleruhr. Und das hat mich auch dazu gebracht, das Spiel so lange weiter zu spielen. Das Ding ist jetzt, wenn man im Abyss ist, bei den oberen Festungen, dass die Tore wie aus Pappmaché scheinen. Also da stehen 150 Leute vor und knabbern sich da in 40 Sekunden durch. Das kann ja auch nicht der Sinn der Sache sein. Und wenn ich dann meine Zeit aufopfere, so einen Tor-Sanierungsstein zu benutzen, den eh keiner benutzt, das sind ja Relikte der Vergangenheit, regeneriere ich 31.000 HP, das macht ein Magier mit einer Gletscherscherbe weg. Dann denke ich mir so,
Super gut, danke dir.
jo, lohnt sich das? Nicht so wirklich. So wäre es vielleicht möglich, den Toren eine Art Buff zu geben, der zum Beispiel 75 Damage Reduction von allen Quellen gibt, bis auf jetzt Belagerungswaffen oder zum Beispiel Skills, die sagen, du machst jetzt 6000 Bonusschaden am Tor, dass das halt durchgeht. Das war halt so die Frage, die mich beschäftigt.
So the question is for the sieges and the abyss again, that the gates basically get killed in like 40 seconds. There's just like a raid of 150 people. So the question is if there would be ways to make the gates a bit more resistant, so that sieges would take a bit longer, like giving the gates a buff that they would take less damage from all sources except siege weapons. So just to make the sieges a bit longer and more difficult.
Okay. So for Korea on 5.3 version, we had a big renewal for the sieges. And one of those renewals were making the gates a little bit more stronger. Now, for the Korean users, there was some feedback that it was quite too strong. Too strong that it's even too hard to get over that level. So after that, we took into their feedback and we lowered the HP for the gates. So basically, the HP is a little bit more harder than before, but it's not impossible or it's not undoable.
Okay. Yes, it will be increased in 5.3. All right. Okay. Are you still having fun with those questions? Is it okay? You're everyone. Yeah. Should we continue? I don't want to. Maybe people are getting bored. I don't want that. So is it okay? No. Fine. All right. Just mood check. All right.
Nick?
Ja, alright.
Nein. Ich hatte noch keine Frage, Nick, aber damit du auch mal arbeitest, stelle ich die auf Deutsch. Ja?
Danke.
Das Grundproblem, ja, sag ich mal so, ist aus 2.0 kamen neue Raids, 3.0 kamen neue Raids, 4.0 kamen neue Raids und 5.0 kam nichts Neues in Anführungsstrichen, außer dass Pangea ein bisschen erhöht wurde. Was aus meiner Sicht auch nicht sehr entscheidend für den ganzen Raid ist. Und im Allgemeinen gesehen, wie sieht's aus mit der Raid-Statistik? Seit 7 Jahren gibt's Abyss Raid, ja, und zwischendurch gab's Yamaranta, Katamalam, ja, und Katamaran war, ich glaube, für die 14 Elios der Highlight. Ne? Und wie sieht's aus mit weiteren Raids?
He's asking that with every version update in the past, every big version update, there have been lots of new raids, but with 5.0 there are no new raids except a change with the Pangea. And he's asking whether new raids can be expected. Rightly correct?
Okay, so there will be a huge raid in 5.1, which I think a lot of users would love.
Okay. There will be a new raid coming with 5.1, and based on your question and the interest, I think we will try to release a news in the next weeks to come, which will provide more information on how it's going to be looking like. All right. Steffi, can you note that, please? All right. Let's go up here. Question.
Will we ever be able to storage mounts in character warehouse? Not account warehouse, but character warehouse.
To store mounts in
Yeah,
character?
because some of us are running around with like 4 to 5 or even 6 mounts, and that's annoying in the bag. We want to storage it in the character warehouse. Is it?
Luckily, yes, that has been fixed and it's capable, but we will have to check on which version it is for Europe. But luckily, yes, that's been implemented.
All right, you're going to see that soon. All right. More questions.
Yes.
All right.
I have a question related to the Sky Islands battles. My legion tried to trigger them. We farmed around 8 hours on Sunday and nothing happened. Is there any plan in releasing an introduction, also Anleitung for that?
Yeah, so about the Sky Islands, there was some confusion, so I think they weren't in the patch notes. That's why there's no guide or explanation. But we're working on providing a guide for it actually, because we think it's like one of the core features of 5.0. It got kind of lost in the process, but there will be a guide coming. So yeah.
All right, we failed. The guide is going to be provided soon by Steffi. She's hiding. All right, next question.
Nick.
Yeah, who's talking? Who's talking? Who was that?
It was me.
Where are
Nick,
you?
me.
Oh, you're here. I'm looking at the crowd here. Sorry.
The lady over there has been...
Oh, okay, sure. Then we'll have her.
Also meine Frage richtet sich auf die Datenbank. Und zwar in der alten Datenbank hatte man eine Zusatzfunktion für 3D-Modelle und in der neuen Datenbank gibt es nur die Vorderansicht, die Rückenansicht. Ja. Und ob das irgendwie sowas geben würde in Zukunft, dass es gut für Cosplayer, also dass man 3D-Modelle hätte, das wäre sehr attraktiv.
Das ist die Datenbank von uns.
Which database you mean? And where?
Welche Datenbank?
The ION database? Or what?
ION-Datenbank, ja genau.
Yeah, well,
in der alten gab es
the ION database is not run by us.
Ach so, okay.
Basically. I mean, that is... Okay. When I was talking before, like the stuff that we can provide on the webpage that we have in the game, we are also thinking about providing something that is similar to what the ION database is providing. And then there might be an option to provide that as well. But currently, as the ION database is not run by us, we cannot add any feature to that. So, yeah. But maybe sometime. All right. By the way, I mean, you all have seen her costume, right? Because she was on the stage before. But I think this qualifies for another applause because that is just so awesome.
Thank you.
All right. More questions?
I know some people might hate me for that question, but is there actually a way possible to nerf bards because they are so freaking OP? I tried with many classes to actually kill them, but I have no chance. With gear, without gear, that doesn't matter. They just kill me like I was paper.
There is feedback that the bards are way overpowered and they should be nerfed.
Yes, we are aware of some of the comments regarding Bard, and therefore we are looking into a more of a long-term plan to not to depower the Bard, but to balance out the overall character powers, the class's powers. So to give you a one-line answer, we are aware of it, and we are planning to balance out the class powers in a long term.
Yeah, I guess balancing character classes is always something that's constantly ongoing in an MMO, and with an update, little things are shifting and changing, and I mean, lots of things you can expect and you can plan on, but other things just, they show when the game is live, and then you see and you need to monitor closely, and that is what we're all doing, and so this is an ongoing thing. Okay, 4 more questions. All right, up here was very early.
Okay, so are there any plans to introduce to the game some kind of wardrobe so that we don't need to store our armors just to have the skins? Because some of our Legion members have multiple armors just to have fashion show. And not for the stats.
Actually, this is something that is part of the Luna system, and the Luna system is a system that has been made by NCS for the overseas regions, and this system will include several features, and one of them is what you mean with the persistent skin thing. And the lunar system is something that we will introduce with the 5.1 update. It theoretically would have been included with 5.0, but the system is very big and has lots of different features and things that need to be set. And with 5.0, the possibilities how you can make changes to it were very limited, and we didn't find a way how to design it in a way that it would fit our region well, and that is why we decided to postpone it to 5.1. But so the answer is, yeah, with 5.1. All right, 3 more questions. Someone down here? All right.
It's actually concerning the original story. When I started playing Aion, there was the story on the homepage in 2 different versions, Asmodea and Alias. And I was wondering if there is a plan on releasing some kind of book where you can actually switch the book to the other version. Yeah.
Okay, I understand about the book. About switch the other version, what was that?
Yeah, like if you read it from the side, you read the Alias version, and then you switch it, and then you read the Asmodea version.
Double-sided?
Oh, yeah, I see. Well, I mean, I can answer first from my side. I think the Aion story is really great, and as Aion has been around for so long, the story is really pretty vast and great and incredible. And I think that for lots of players that have started later on, they just have half of the story basically. And I always dreamed of having like some kind of like we did for the 5.0 update. We did a story trailer, and to have something like this for all of the Aion story, or have it like maybe also in kind of a comic, like a scroll down comic thing or something like that, that's something that I had in my mind. That would really be a great thing. And as I introduced you before, Jenny, who is responsible for text, she's like the walking Aion lore database, and she would love to put work into that and make that happen. So chances are really high that we're going to see that from our side. Now, the question is whether or not there are plans on Korea that you might be aware of, that there are also plans in that direction, maybe, to provide a lore overview. Because in Korea, what they have is that wiki, what's it called? Power Wiki? The Power Book, right? They have the Power Book that provides really lots of information that we don't have here, and translating all of it is really like that would be rather cost intensive to all the languages, so we cannot just copy paste it. But apart from that, are there any other plans on Korea's side to?
I think it's a little bit premature to make it into a book, but in order to make it into a book, we would have to add some more content and stories. And therefore, we are putting a lot of effort into that. And so, if we are lucky enough to have a huge storyline, which is capable enough to make it into a book, then of course, then we will consider that.
Yeah, I think probably because, I mean, Aion was made as a game, but then you feel like there's so much content that it really, it could qualify for a book. But then again, if somebody would sit down and write a book based on the Aion story, then lots of stuff would be added on the side, and that, of course, needs to be checked. But you also have that with other games that, have been, like, I don't know, the Halo books, for example. The game was there, and then people wrote books, issued by the developer. Yeah, but so it's good to know that it's in the heads of people, and we'll see how the story can be expanded to make it into a book. All right, 2 more questions. Down here? Yeah.
Okay. Bezüglich Skills wollte ich fragen, 2 Punkte. Einmal bei Mounts und Pet, ob die vielleicht irgendwie Zusatzskills bekommen, wie wenn einer keinen Mount hat, dass man zu 2 drauf reitet, weil der bleibt sonst hinter der Gruppe immer hängen oder Allianz. Und dass bei die kleinen Pets im Housing zum Beispiel irgendwie auch in der Wohnung rumhüpfen können. Und bezüglich Klassenskills auch, beim Beschwörer sind die Geister zum Beispiel jetzt als Highdiver für mich jetzt oder anderen auch relativ nutzlos, ob die irgendwie angehoben werden, andere Geister kommen oder Winddiener und sowas verbessert wird.
Well, the question is about mounts, pets, and the Spirit Master summons. So, if there will be mounts with more skills, for example, riding 2 people on 1 mount, which yes, And for the pets, like if you could have your pets run around in your house. And for the Spirit Master, if there would be new spirits to summon, or if you could do more with them.
Well, basically, most of the opinions that you give us are mostly things that we are already aware of. And because of that, the dev team always puts consideration on how to make that happen. And of course, this is one of those core issues that we want to resolve, and some things that we want to present to you. And therefore, we do have put in a lot of thought into that. And therefore, it is one of the big issues that the dev team are working on. So therefore, what I can tell you today is that we are considering it, and maybe soon you will be able to see it.
She's saying that they always check in on how this can be implemented, and of course there are ways how to implement it in a way that is, possible within a certain time frame, and it might not be exactly what you are expecting when you think a two-seater mount is like a mount where both people can click on and then they're sitting on it or something like that, like with the tanks, a two-seated tank or something. But they're working on finding a way how to make that possible, two people on one mount, and if they say something like this, it's really like, from my experience, actually, yeah, that's going to be happening anytime soon, but we will see. So, anytime soon. All right, final question. I think we have one from the top floor. All right.
Okay, we have a question. Why not, when implementing a new housing system, make it possible yet that you can take out your cat and your dog and leave them at home in a stable, that other people can see it and they walk around in your garden? A sheep or whatever you have, like pets you don't need.
So I can answer that. Regarding the pet question, that's a very fresh idea. We haven't really thought about that. So we will definitely put that in our idea box and see how, or if, or maybe if we can turn that or make that happen.
I wonder when we will have the next meet and greet, if we can already talk in more detail about that. That would be awesome, because it would be a feature that would have been, come up here and then make it into the game. That would be awesome if it could happen. So we'll see about that. All right, so that's it, I guess. Yeah, wow, that was the first live Ask AION. I feel good about it. I liked it. I hope you liked it too. Nice. I enjoy that. It's different. Completely different to the recorded one, so that's awesome. Great. Yeah, I don't know. The next thing would be, well, basically, the program would be to an end now. Now is the time to do, get together. You can talk to any one of us. We can have pictures made up there on the photo booth and stuff like that. The facility will be open basically, until midnight, or maybe a bit longer, 1 o'clock maybe, if you want to stick around, but lots of you are going to the Gamescom tomorrow because you got a card for it, a free ticket. But we will be here for as long as you need us and you have stuff to talk about. And one thing that I would really find totally amazing, if everybody would now come up to the stage and we can have a group picture of all of us. Are you ready for that, media? All right, then, I don't know, if you want to be on that picture, which I would really love, everybody just come to the stage, come to us.